welcome to tonight's stream. My name is Guy, and I'm alone tonight. All of my usual guests have flown to the four winds, all busy doing all kinds of wonderful things, which is fantastic, and I wish them the very best. They'll all be back next week, which is great for all of us. So it gives us some opportunity to do a whole bunch of various bits and pieces, focusing to a little bit of a degree. I do find that when you have lots of people involved, which it's fun, absolutely, but there's lots of opinions and things going on, so sometimes it can put the brakes on things. Now, before we get going with tonight's show, before we kind of get driving forward, it is entirely up to you guys how we actually proceed as well. So if you want to carry on working on the Hello World section, we certainly can carry on with that tonight. I don't have a problem doing that. Or if we want to just kick back and ask questions and talk and socialize, we're absolutely fine in doing that as well. So just let me know in the chat. I do have it open. I'm actually going to, let me swap some stuff around. If I move that there, I can see what I'm doing better. So yeah, tonight is your night. Tonight is your night. And if you, and you could also just go, you know what, I'm out, I'm done, I'm going home, goodbye. Then that's absolutely fine as well. So there we go. Before we decide on air, so whilst you're kind of putting in some thoughts there, I see Kajetan98 says world, work on the world. Please work on the world. Do not talk, just work on the world. I might be adding some words to that. We're here to say hello world, says Second Ham Samurai, so carry on with the world. Lance Pickett is here to be a pain in my $dollar anyway, so yeah, there we go, absolutely. Right, so before we kind of get going, I wanted to I'm going to talk about this tomorrow night, so you'll be hearing it twice. So I was super impressed. So one of the major perks of being someone who has the wonderful opportunity of having such wonderful fans like yourselves, and like someone like Adrian 1976, thank you, heart. I don't know about this heart thing. I mean, hasn't it just become like a cliche? I mean, maybe we should do something else. Maybe we should be like, oh, there we go, donation or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for that, Adrian. Stuck at work without the sound, so it's mime. Really, anyway, I appreciate the view anyway. So one of the advantages is that we get sent stuff to review and things. And what most people do is they send an email first and they say, listen, would you review? And then we sort of look at it and we decide if we want to or not. And you start to build up some I would say some relationships with a lot of these suppliers. And the one that has stood through for quite some time now is Easy Roller Dice. And they came on and they sent us a whole bunch of amazing stuff, which we reviewed in a video. And the other day we were talking about a Kickstarter, which is now done. It's over. I've got it open here just to remind you. It was this Elven Kickstarter, these Elven kind dice. And I looked at them and they reached their goal. They got their backers. They're only looking for $2,500. They made $30,000, which is it's great for them. It's really cool. And these dice look really nice. And so I promoted it and spoke to you guys about it, and some people went and supported them, backed them, I suppose, from us. And I actually remember saying, well, I'm not convinced that the lettering is as clear as it could be. Anyway, so today in the post, they sent me some saying, well, we really appreciate what you do for us, and we want to show you what the dice are like. So they sent us this, and I have to say, opening it up, no, not Wormwood. I actually, the only time I've ever done anything with Wormwood was when I was on another live stream. So this is Easy Roller, and I have to say, they sent them through. I just want to make sure it's not going to fall out now. They sent through these beautiful orange ones. Now these are metal, folks, and you can see how they sort of look like they're on fire in the light, and I have to say, they really are spectacular dice. There's no link. You can't go buy these. I don't think. You can pre-order them, apparently, but that's not the plug. It's literally just to show them off and to sort of review them. And it really does. I don't know how the metal is done. I don't know if it's printed, if it's actually printed on the die, the metal, or if it's infused in it. I don't know, but it... Yeah, I don't have autofocus on because it never focuses. Anyway, so they're very, very, very pretty. And I just wanted to say thank you to Easy Roller. So, I mean, obviously it's in their interest to send this stuff to me because then I talk about it and it might inspire you to go and buy them on. I mean, they really are beautiful. And I do think that the numbers are clearer than I thought they would be, I must admit. And they're metal, so they roll really well. Now, you see, I don't know. Is that a 7? Yeah, that's a 7. Yeah, very pretty, very pretty. I mean, that's the bottom line. And if you like collecting, these are definitely some to collect. Some very beautiful ones to collect. So there we go. Easy Roller dice. I mean, absolutely stunning. Okay, right. And they always send me this card inside. It's like, thank you. Here's a set for you. Let me know what you think. Old Michael from Easy Roller. Anyway, there we are. Okay, let's talk some questions. We'll go to the world. We will go to the 5 lands. So I do see, I thought there was a question or two that came through. Jostein says, how do you feel about moral dilemmas where there is no right choice for the players? So are the dice balanced? They say they are as precisely carved as possible, and the numbers are printed on, so that won't account for a discrepancy in the weight. Not very much. I mean, the weight of the ink is highly unlikely to have any influence over the actual metal. So I would say probably better than plastic ones. Anyway, okay. Guten Abend, mein Herr Schmidt. Welcome. So, yeah, look, in terms of moral dilemmas, it's always going to be a challenge. Well, as a matter of fact, you know, these questions, they're not planted. And I promise you we will definitely get into world building. And it is something interesting with regards to world building. So this is the world that we've been building, the 5 lands. And as you can see, this chart is just growing as poor old Demetrius has been adding to it. And it's wonderful. So we're on World Anvil, worldanvil.com, which is where this comes from. Now, when it comes to moral dilemmas, I think that extends further as well. So a moral dilemma is always when, and I think this is me personally speaking here, a moral dilemma is when you have to make a decision that you are personally torn between. Because when there isn't a personally torn between decision, then it's not really a moral dilemma. It's like kill 1,000 people to save 1,000,000 people. That's not a moral dilemma. That's a statistic. If you're Stalin, for example, right? If you personally had to kill all 1,000 of those people, that is then a moral dilemma, because suddenly there's a personal connection, and you are the one who's going to have to sleep at night with that decision. So I think that is the core of actual moral dilemmas. And I'm not convinced necessarily that players will ever feel that level of connection. I think they will always be able to distance themselves and say, no, well, it's this one, it's that one. Where there is no right choice, there is a major problem that the players will feel as if they missed the correct answer. So instead of them going, oh, that was a great moral decision, I hate those ones, they're going to be walking away going, well, we must have missed something because that was very unsatisfactory as a conclusion. So if you've got really good players, then maybe a moral dilemma where the outcome is not favorable in either direction is going to work. But I don't know. I usually go moral dilemma or a really tough solution where there's a happy ending. And usually the players will go for the very tough solution with a happy ending. If you look at, I've actually just restarted playing Mass Effect Andromeda, which as a computer game, when it first came out, everybody hated it. I hated it. It was appalling. Because it wasn't Mass Effect in the sense that what we had been given before. It was something so new and so different. It was like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is awful. And I played it. When I finished it, I was like, this is the worst iteration ever, and I hope it dies a horrible slow death. Now that I've been replaying it without all of those expectations, because I was a huge Mass Effect and Dragon Age fanatic, and now that I've been replaying it, there are some moral dilemmas. Do we blow up the Ket base? Do we blow up the bad guy's base and all of the slaved Angarans within it? Or do we save the Angorans and leave the Ket base behind? And that it could be reused and start this whole thing again. At the time when I first played it, I was like, no, we got to go, we got to get out of here and screw the Angorans. I hate them as a race. They're ugly. Anyway, let's get out of here. Let's go. Blew it up, didn't think anything of it. It was a moral dilemma that I just didn't care. And then people went, oh, you didn't save our people, blah, 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 blah. But you did save you did destroy the base and save the planet. And so for me, it's like, well, it's a numbers game, folks. And I made the right call. So, yeah, it's really tricky. It's really tricky to make those actually work and then actually feel like they were a good choice to make. Anyway, I'm not sure. It is something to think about. Tricky. So when we then let's expand that further, because I think it's an interesting one, and I kind of have carte blanche here, because we will get into world building, and we are in world building now, as a matter of fact. It's just a sneaky way of getting into it. So 5 days ago, I was convinced by you guys, by people like yourselves on Twitter, to start writing my novel. I feel like there should be thunder rolling when I say that. So, and the reason why is because my entire life I have been told by people, oh, you should write a book. When you get told by everybody, oh, you should write a book because you'd be really good at that, and you go, well, actually, yeah, okay. There's a huge amount of pressure to then write this magnum opus, and you start 1,000 times and you never finish. Anyway, so I've started writing this thing. We're now on day 5. This is a particular writing style that I've adopted, and in it, one of the major components of this book is slavery, and there's a whole running gag because it's a book written by me. It will never be. I mean, it's grim, dark, serious. Titanic battles, epic dragons and warriors, and all that kind of wonderful stuff. But it's my book, and in this particular book, there are a bunch of characters that are trying to bring about, or prevent, as a matter of fact, an apocalypse from happening. But I didn't just want it to be, oh, and here is their apocalypse going. Boom, here is the charge, here is the, this is it. This is forever and a day. Here's the journey. And I mean, I could certainly do that. But that's not what interests me. What interests me is how they got the little pieces together. So part of the book is one of the characters has to go, and this is a bit of a spoiler, if the book ever comes out, but I don't think it will. And if it does, it's still years away, or months at least. The one character has to get a specific type of being and train them up in swordplay, because according to an ancient prophecy, that particular being who's trained in that particular style of swordplay using a very specific style of weapon will ultimately kill the monster. So think about Merlin trying to guide King Arthur to becoming King Arthur and learning how to fight with a sword, and then getting to the sword and the stone, and then putting the sword in the stone. So a lot of the book is looking at that kind of mundane stuff. The family life, if you like. So the other wizard, his wife, nags on him because he's always trying to interpret that bloody book and those ancient scriptures that he keeps obsessing about. Meanwhile, his son is getting into trouble at school, type of thing. It's fantasy, but it's definitely anachronistic. But the character has to, basically the character goes, okay, well, I need this particular type of person, and I need this type of person to be young so I can train them up because they've got a 10-year clock, and the easiest way is just to go and buy a slave. So then you go, all right, so how did one buy slaves? How does one go about buying slaves? I mean, I've never done that before. But you're writing a book, so you go, okay, well, how would it work? And then you read about how people would go and look for slaves. And it is exactly the same way that you go and look for and buy horses or cattle at a market. Now, that I have been part of, And you check the hooves for hoof rot, you check the teeth, you check the gums for the colour of the gums, you check the coat, you check everywhere. And then very dispassionately you buy that one but not that one, and you buy that one and 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 that one. And so when I was writing this, I was like, this is, because they're buying humans, they're buying real people. This is a real moral catch. It's really difficult to think about it in the sense of, I like that one. No, let me see his teeth. Okay, no, his teeth are not so good quality. Okay, so maybe a bit diabetic, or maybe not very healthy. No, put that one back. I'll take that one. And then because it's me, I like these worlds to be rounded and to feel like they would feel. I then put myself in the slave trader's position. And as a slave trader, I'm going, this bunch of people, they're useless. They're absolutely useless. We need to sell this to market. I've got to sell these guys today, because if I don't sell them, I've got to feed them, because if you don't feed them, they don't look good on stand. So, and then your brain starts going into these really dark places where it's like, well, do you see what he's selling? He's selling them. They've all got black hair. Is black hair in these days? Maybe all the slaves need to have black hair. No hair, maybe, because then that hides the lice. But and the mind starts to go in these really dark spaces in terms of how one would sell slaves and how one would treat them, and then how would a slave react to being bought. And so the one scene that I wrote, I don't know if it'll end up in the book or not, but I had to kind of write it, was, how would I come home with 4 slaves? It's like, okay, well, your room is over there, and it's got some mattresses in it, and then these are your duties, and if you don't do them, you will be taken back to the market, or possibly we just execute you. It's very, very interesting. It's very different. It's very, very curious. And, coming from South Africa, where we didn't have slavery, but we certainly had an indenturement, and we had a persecution of a large population, I look at some of those things and I go, that's how you do it. That's how you treat people. So anyway, it's a very, very curious thing. So this whole moral thing is interesting. Now I see there's a whole different conversation going on about orcs that I seem to be missing. So what's going on about orcs? It's how I treat orcs. Hyper-focused, hugely passionate people. Yes, okay, I like orcs like that. I think orcs are pretty cool. So we talk about live play. My orcs are highly competitive in all aspects of Laura Bones, so they're all number ones. They're all hyperachievers. Cheating is one of the vilest things an orc can do. Isn't it funny how isn't it funny how we look at noble races, well, like the orcs, where they're hyper competitive, they're part of the land, and we give them honor, like this hyper honor. It's like, you can't cheat. You're an orc. You'll go and skin someone. You'll go and rip their head off and put it on a spike and that sort of thing. But you can't cheat. And I think again that just boils down to the fact that we treat them like they're real, and that's what happens. Is real people do that. So anyway, that's particularly cool. Okay, I didn't see any other questions coming through, so I'm going to move on. Draco Vale says, I had some experiences researching magic and the occult. That was one heck of a ride through dark places. Well, just to add to that, Draco Vale, is do some research on magic in South Africa. It's still considered real to this day. There's an entire division of the police force that is dedicated to magic crimes. It's called Muti crimes, M-U-T-I. Muti crimes, because the belief that magic exists in that country is so strong that there are many crimes which people will not report to the regular police, but they will report to the special division, the Muti crime division, who then look at it from that perspective rather than from a regular perspective. It's very, very interesting. Yes, I'll type it into chat. Let me find the right chat here. So it's interesting. I was going to do a TV series called Feldfire, based on the Muti crime division, because they believe that there are these little creatures called Tokolosh that are sent out by witches and so yeah, it's and that, let me tell you, in terms of dark spaces, that is particularly dark. I nearly grew up with a stepbrother because my parents wanted to adopt a little baby boy that my father found tied to a post outside of a traditional magician's hut in a rural village, who the little boy was going to be cut up and used for magic, Muti magic. My father said, no, that's not going to happen. Took him home, and my parents fell in love with him and wanted to adopt him. But during the apartheid era, it was impossible for a white family to adopt a black. But anyway, long story short, it's a fascinating country to have grown up in terms of all of this kind of stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, okay, right. Let's get on to some world building. Hello, world. The Kool-Aid Man reminds us of. So, we have got a lot of stuff that we have worked on. We've done the Kamazatl Basin. We've started to work the powers, the two kingdoms. So we have the Langskrag Jarldom and the Gakota Magocracy. Magic, we have the Warming Stone, the magic of the Ether, the gemstones, Gakota Warpaint, which we spoke about. We haven't developed that very much either. The deities, we have now one of the deities, Hirus. Flora and fauna, we've got so much stuff there. Sentient and non-sentient, which is those Ein Pangolins, the rock wyverns, all those kinds of wonderful things. So yes, we've got a lot to work on. So folks, you take your pick. You've got it here on the screen now. Let me see what it is that you want to work on tonight, and we'll work on it. Cold Moon 23 says, this may be a stupid or too general question, but I really want to know. How do you create a sense of terror in the campaign without railroading the players? Because I think that is something I would really need if I am to ST the campaign I'm working on. Start the campaign I'm working on? Start the campaign I'm working on? Look, terror is the problem. It is difficult to induce terror in players sitting around a table or sitting on a virtual space in a Zoom call or something like that. Why? Because terror is something that we feel as an unknown, and when you're describing it, it's not going to be an unknown. However, there are ways and means in which you can try and get people to freak themselves out. Online, I'm not so sure. Around the table, however, I have done this, and I have had another GM who I used to be part of in his game. I have done it as well. Ask the permission of your players first, however. Ask the permission of your players first. When GMing a game and you wanted to have horrific aspects or terrible aspects, dim the lights so that it's nice and atmospheric, and then get up and walk around the table as the GM. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. One, it throws off the players, their eye lines, so it's already a slightly unusual space. Two, whisper stuff into the ears of players that are terrifying for that player to realize. So I, at one stage, was a guest NPC in a friend of mine's game. I was playing a succubus, and I could connect telepathically with the one-player character. And they were coming to try and save my character. But it was a terrific battle that they were going to walk into. It was a giant ambush. They were all going to die if they did it the wrong way around. And so the GM said, okay, that's the situation. You're in the room, da-da-da-da. So I had asked that player beforehand if he minded me whispering in his ear. And he said no, he didn't mind. So I then went in and I would whisper in his ear what was happening. Now, what was really great was that I was able to say anything that I liked, and his facial expression listening to that stuff was wonderful, because the rest of the players were sitting there going, well, we can't hear it, so why can't... And then they were watching his face, and they're like, oh my God, what is going... Why is his face doing that? Why is this happening? Why's that happening? So that really helped drive that sense. Now, what you could do online, because I've been trying to think about this, but it's going to take a lot of prep. What you could do is you could secretly text. I know you can do this in Zoom, and I would imagine you'd be able to do it in any other program because they're all the same these days. But you could then private link bits of text to the players, specific players, and hopefully let them build the hype a little bit. So it could be fragments. It's like you're hearing something behind you. Something touches the back of your ear. So you can text that kind of stuff and then let them respond accordingly. It is difficult, though. It's a lot easier to pull it off when there's people sitting around the room. So, yeah, there we are. Okay, let's see. How are we voting? Lots of people saying, I wish I could run an in-game, an in-real-life campaign. Yeah, definitely. Right, where are we? Flora, Storytell. Wait, what? Deity? I don't know what that means. I immediately fell in love with the family trees in World Anvil. It's so cool. Yeah, they are absolutely cool. So Cobalt says, can you give us a quick overview of how things developed with the 5 lands? What you started with, what was added next? Sorry for the repeat, but you seem to have missed this. I've missed this. Yes, okay, absolutely. Absolutely, we can do that. Makes it easier for guys. Oh, yes, thanks, White Tiger 225. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so, yeah, I'll do a brief recap. Let's make some killer plants. Flora is where the voice seems to be driving. So, where did we start? This entire process? With a blank canvas. And quite literally, Kaora and I got together before the show and we said, okay, what are we going to do? And we're like, well, we don't actually know. So he started drawing this, and we're like, let's do a region map. So he drew the coastline first, and we wanted to have this bay protruding halfway through it. And then we vaguely started to map out zones. He just used color to map out zones. And then we started the stream, and we're like, okay, well, we've got one nation here, we've got one nation there. We did a list of races that we wanted to potentially have. You can actually see one of them is still here as an Ein Pangolin on his notes. This was one of his older maps that he gave me to use. And then we just started populating it and fleshing it out. So we've now got the Voracic Forest completely controlled by the Gokota theocracy, magocracy, I should say, which is not a bad grouping of peoples. We've got a whole bunch of places. We have war hearths, which are their forts and things. So, yeah, we did that. Then we added in the Langskrag Jarldom, which I don't think it's here, actually. No, that's the Voracic. The Langskrag Jarldom, which is here, they're kind of on the side. The Ropewood Forest is now a sacred forest that no one is allowed to go in. I don't think that was actually catalogued. But with the flora and fauna, we added in the Gokota and the 2 different types of Gokota and some of the various bits and pieces. And we designed an adventure, the first adventure that would introduce people to it, 0001 adventure, the very first one. So yeah, we've been basically pottering around doing various bits and pieces as we've needed to. Yeah, it's really where the wind has blown us. We haven't had a very specific plan. This was just, well, that's interesting. Okay, let's go there. So when we look here, I see flora has been spoken about and the war paint. So let's go in with some floratic stuff. What would you call it? Flora? Foliage? Flora? I mean, flora is foliage. Right, so I don't have Demetrius with us. So I have to do this manually, which is fine. It's fine. Okay, so this is the new layout, by the way. This is their new navigation system, which I haven't spent a lot of time working on. Anyway, we're going to create some flora. So get your flora caps on. I think what we should do is in the Ropewood jungle, we said it was a sacred space. And sacred spaces. Oh, it's hard to see the overlay. Okay. Well, I was being like artistic and stuff, but it's fine. No, actually, I'm just using the wrong one. So there we are. Ta-da! Fixed. See? Anyway, right. What was I talking about now? Oh yeah, sacred spaces. So, if you've ever visited sacred sites, for me, the most telling thing about a sacred site is what? Think about the last time you physically visited a sacred site. A sacred site could be a church, a cathedral, a cemetery, standing stones. I mean, I don't know. You tell me, when you visited that sacred site, what hit you the most? Now, Laura Bones is saying the atmosphere. What about the atmosphere? What about the atmosphere? So, and I'm going to wait for you guys to answer first before I jump in there, because I obviously have opinions on the matter. Oh. So Laura Bones is saying the quiet and reverence. The quiet and reverence. Anybody else experience other things when they've gone to a sacred site? The miracle or event that happened there, Harrison? Can you unpack that a little bit in terms of describing how that affected that space, and then how you felt that effect? The quiet, it was deafening, said Edar Andrew. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're quite right. And I think the tourism, Sir Cobalt says, unchanged for centuries. Fog, says Stamser. Well, fog would certainly, the smell of people, old places. I do like that. Okay, so I think we're fixing on this, which is really great. Some symbols too. Yeah, absolutely, Sabah Ismail, without a doubt. So when we're talking about these things, this sacred space, I do like what Frederick Schmidt was saying, a feeling of presence, feeling connected, or feeling small. The passage of time, says Elias Verniari. These are brilliant. These are all absolutely brilliant. So, I am just looking at my screen. We want to make this flora in the sacred forest. That's where I'm driving us to. Bright versus darkness, David A. That's an interesting one. Let's expand a little bit on that one. What are we going to use here? We could use geography, but I feel like that's not right. Building. What can we use here? Why am I going? I'm drawing a blank here. Building. I said it out loud. But it's not really well, it is a building. It's a building. We're going to use the building template. So, okay. Now, I want you guys to keep this. Keep all of this on hand, because we're going to use that. So, there's some really, really, really cool things coming through here. Alberto Oliveira says opulence and grandeur, the Sacred Family Cathedral at Barcelona. Yeah, absolutely. Your sense of true irrelevance in the world. It is something that I must admit, a commonality that I feel in all of your answers is a sense of you being there, being very small in a very big space, whether it's a cathedral in Barcelona or Stonehenge or a sacred grove somewhere. There is this incredible sense of being small. Now, when it came to construction, when it came to building sites, that was purposeful. That was purposely done. We know that by building gigantic structures, it shows the godlike ability of those who were building it, as well as making you feel very, very, very small, so you could be very, very easily kind of controlled. In natural spaces, I think, again, it's just the sheer scale of it reminds us how tiny we really are. So let's build that in. So we've got this forest, this ropewood forest, which there is this thing that we need to instill in this place. So I'm going to put here the ropewood sacred forest. How or what are we going to use to describe the sense of smallness? How are we going to feel small inside ropewood forest? Because I've gone into some forests. I've gone into sand forests, they're called. It's a particular type of forest where the ground is just beach sand, but there's trees that have grown up in this. They're really weird. Pine forests, all kinds of different forests. Bamboo forests. They sometimes fill me with a reverence, but not always. There's a park next to the house that I live in that has got lots of trees everywhere, but there's one spot that feels almost sacred, and the rest of it is like, it's just whatever. So how do we give this ropewood a sense of that? And I think we can let's push it a little bit further than we got big trees, because big trees do it. Absolutely. I have a photograph on my phone. I have, hundreds of photographs on my phone of this site that I feel has got a very strange, sacred kind of sense to it. I'm not religious in the slightest, but it feels like this would be a place for cosmic power, if you like. So I like the idea of big trees, redwoods, sequoias, that sort of thing. But that's not bringing in some of the other things that we've been talking about. We've been talking about symbols. Symbols, definitely. Whether it is Stonehenge, the pyramids, whether it's a cathedral or not, there are always symbols. So I think Harrison's just stepped onto it, maybe. And I like what Darth Tater is saying as well. Carvings in the trees, says David A. I think we're on the same wavelength. Okay, so I am going to propose that what we do is, in order to make this... Sorry, there we go. Microphone's in the way. Let's do this. Okay, we're going to come to sounds just now, Cold Mountain. So just let me get this going. Massive trees that extend upwards of 100. Yeah, that's pretty big. 100 feet tall. Dominate large clearings. The wood of the trees is so old and so hard that it is as if they are petrified. Okay. Just bear with me here, folks. I'm trying to draw what you guys are putting in there. That they're petrified. Many of the trees have sacred runes etched carved into them. I hate not being able to spell. Carved into them. Most are so old that moss has grown into the carvings. Okay. What else was there? Some of the glades are so venerated that even the wildlife do not venture into them, causing massive, undisturbed moss glades to exist. The moss gives off a faint blue glow, illuminating the trunks in a holy light. Okay. The central point of the canopy is so dense the opening to the grove is shrouded. an eerie texture to the trees as if they've been embalmed. Now, that was what I was thinking about. So if you've ever been to truly spectacular battlefields where thousands of people died, and I know that sounds absolutely horrid, but for example, when I was in Japan, I refused to go to Nagasaki or Hiroshima. I refuse to go to those two spaces. There's to me it's just too overwhelming. And when I went to this battlefield in South Africa called Isandlwana, it is the site where thousands of people died. A massacre occurred, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's a very strange shaped mountain. One lone mountain over this plain, this field. And when you stand there, you can almost see the people fighting around you. I mean, it's mind-bogglingly weird. And it's very, very, very disconcerting. But that embalmed idea that they're there. I love, again, also the twig figures. If we go, keeping the Japanese theme, if we go Princess Mononoke, you have those little white tree figures, those little white tree things. If we go Avatar, we have the floating jellyfish things, which were pretty cool as well. Trees of golden leaves, I like that. Okay, we're going to come back to the sound. We are going to tick every box here, folks, of the senses. We're going to tick all of them. Let's see. Right. Some of the trees have golden leaves. In the trunks of the truly old trees, it seems possible to see the embalmed figures of the saints and godlings that once called this place home, as if frozen in amber. If you look at the tree directly, the feeling and image disappear. Okay? Small twig-like beings with dark eyes and small shaped, tend the glades and flee from any who approach. Okay, let's get into the audio, the sound. Now, we were talking about the sound of a sacred place. What does a sacred place sound like? What does a sacred place sound like? And we were saying, I used small twice, Pappykins. I know. This is not writing 101. This is how not to write, but this is how I work it. So for me, when I use, we're in World Anvil at the moment using their templates. When I use World Anvil, or when I'm just jotting down notes, this is how I write. I just splurge it out. I don't care about the linguistics. I'm not chastising, by the way. I'm not chastising you. I know you pointed out, and you're absolutely correct. But I just spew out all the stuff that is floating around, and then come back and rework it. And that's if it's going to be used in a literary sense. If it's going to be used in my game, I don't need to rewrite it, because I will read these notes before the game, and then I keep it up in the head, and then I use it. So, okay. Yeah, kind of like micro-ents. I'm kind of have a weird idea that the forest punishes the trespasser, turning them into wooden figures, says Draco Vale. I do like that. No, Puppykins, please do not apologize. Like I said, not chastising. I'm just sharing the way that it works. Ropewood was over the dead Titan. That is correct. Absolutely correct. There is almost no sound in this place, and any sound seems to echo forever. Once made, often returning to the listener days or weeks later with distorted editions. I don't know. So you speak now and a couple days later you hear your own voice. I think that could be quite creepy. Quite creepy. The leaves and the wind chimes. I like the silence aspect. I like the silent aspect. What if the moss makes a sound when it hears sound, like a low hum that attracts insects, but the onlookers, it's the song of the saints? I do like that. I do like that. So, okay. Wait, let's just go back. Okay. The moss, when stepped on, makes a cracking sound, like dry branches being snapped underfoot, to make it really freaky, and pick up on what Jimmy James is saying there. I do like the idea that the moss has some kind of sound with it. The creaking of the trees, yeah, you know, I don't have anything against that idea either. I don't have anything against that idea. Have golden leaves. What if our Langskrag, Viking, dwarf, whatever they ended up being, what if they... Wind chimes are awfully cliched. I mean, you think of primitive culture, there's always a wind chime hanging around that vaguely, you know, bangs in the wind and causes slight heart attacks to happen. So what, the branches snapping, what if there was the sound of breathing, and that breathing is the Titan who is slumbering underground? I don't know. I do see, yes, there is some suggestion with regards to the... Sorry, Ranwin Phoenix just knocked me off of my chair. Have you heard the music mushrooms make? No, I have not. I have not, so that's weird. It's a strange metallic plinking sound. Well, that's interesting. I thought we were going to go in a different direction, but there we go. That's awesome. The breath of the world, black blood of the earth. Yes, yes. David A was going where I was going. Okay, so yes, it's snoring becomes, I think it's difficult to take snoring as being terrifying. I do think breathing, black blood of the earth. I like that sentence. I don't know what it means apart from oil. But yes, or black gold was oil, wasn't it? Black blood. We don't have anything for black blood. Okay, so occasionally there is the sound. Why does that word? What was wrong with that word? Occasionally there is the sound of breathing, drifting through the silence of the trees. Okay. What did it not like? English. So, there have been some very good points being raised about ropewood. The name is ropewood. I didn't put that name there, but we will use it. We will use it. Ropewood. Yeah, Ben, that's pretty scary stuff, actually. So we haven't gone with taste or with touch yet. We haven't really described that. So let's do that. Okay, like dry branches stepping underfoot, and the moss oozes a black, sticky sap known as the black blood of the wood. Okay, we can go into that if it's got something there. Right. So back to ropewood. Why would it be called ropewood? Why would its name? Why would we get this name ropewood? Let's think about rope. So vines, yes, definitely vines are there, but these trees are magnificently tall. If we now hang ropes on the top, it's just going to lower that ceiling down, and it's going to get rid of that reverence, that sense of space. So what if it's actually the roots of the trees on the ground, that there are so many roots that they look like they've plaited themselves like rope on a ship? Think about that a little bit. Does that spark anything in your imagination? There we go. Jimmy James. Look at that. I mean, no, not Jimmy James. De Krishka. We're on the same page there. Roots, branches of the trees as thick as a ship's rope. Yeah. So if the tangled vines or White Tiger 225 is on a line there, the vines are said to punish souls of heretics. What if the vines hung down the trees, hung down the trunks of the trees, and then could wrap around those who got too close to the trees and sort of hold them up crucifix style? I don't know. The bark of these trees comes off in long strands that's easily turned into rope. Yeah, absolutely. Indecision, absolutely. Do the trees grow from multiple trunks that intertwine into great trees? Kind of like those fancy trees that you buy? Could do. Yeah, Ranwan and Phoenix, we're looking at the vines. We're looking at why is the forest called ropewood specifically? Australian gum trees shed their bark in winter as well as leaves, very rope-like. Yes, they do. Having been around some Australian gums, yes, they do shed their bark, but it's not, I wouldn't say that it comes off in great big long strips, but it's very brittle. But again, I mean, it's not a bad idea. There's a dark dern there. For the trees, though large, are twisted. Yeah, the trees could be twisted. Travelers take shallow breaths as the very air seems to taste of salt and tar, like the divine plains. Could be. The trees could be twisted like rope. I think that's where we're going to go. Sarzarelian says that. I think that's not a bad way to go. I think we're going to do that. So let's forget the vines. Hence the name. Okay, I think that's good enough. But we have got sound, crackling, silence, oppressive sound. We've got visuals, lots of visuals. We don't have a smell. We don't have a smell. So what do we use? Smell. For smell. We need a smell. So now when I'm thinking about cathedrals that I've been in, sacred sites that I've been to, there often isn't a smell. I'm trying to think. When I was in the cathedral in Minneapolis, and when I was in a cathedral in Tokyo, I can't say there was a very strong scent. And old earth, fresh earth, yeah. Metallic and mineral, says Ranwan Phoenix. The air could be stale, like a grave. So like underneath the school stage. I don't know if you guys ever had that. Our high schools always used to have a stage, and then underneath was where everything was kept. And that had a very strange smell to it. Very musty kind of smell. Old book smell. Yeah, loamy definitely works. The dry pine needles on the floor. Pine forests definitely have a different aroma. That old wood smell. Yeah. Mold. I think mold is going to go that way. Yeah, I think so. Metallic with a hint of armor. Yeah. Could be. Well, there might be damp feel to the air. Incense, says Andrew Savin. Copper, like blood. The waft of last year's dreams, says Fethahed the. Yes. No, wait. Fethahed. Fatherhead. I don't know how to pronounce that out loud. Ginger and cinnamon. That's very specific. Dry, as a contrast to the Gokota Lands forests. Dekrishka, I think you've got it right there. I think, yeah, we can go with a sort of dry smell. Laura Bones is asking, what is the Titan made from? Hehe, as they say, Ungazi, wakarimasen. So there you have it in Zulu and in Japanese, and in English it is, I don't know, I don't understand, I don't comprehend what the Titan is made from. We never covered that, so maybe that's something we can look at. We've got an hour left. Maybe we can go and figure out this Titan. Yeah, rotting wood is usually... Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Is that we want to subvert expectations. So if we say it smells moldy and of rotting wood, that makes it feel very much like a forest. But if we... Excuse me. If we say that there's this dry thinness, the sense, the smell of metal in the air, that's quite different. It is also a very difficult smell. If I say to you, what does metal smell like? You kind of get that sort of in your head. It's like, well, it's the smell of coins when you have lots of coins in your hand. I have a wallet full of coins here. No, I'm just smelling the wallet, which is made out of leather. Yeah, it's like that coiny smell. I don't know. Coiny smell, does that make sense? And these coins, by the way, are ancient. So, I don't know. I oh, now I can smell it. Great. Anyway, mint. Yeah, it could be mint. I think bitter copper. Yeah, I think copper because it's a smell. Yeah. The air is thin and old and smells of copper and iron and the dreams of 1,000 years ago. There we go. Embalming fluid. Formaldehyde. No, formaldehyde is a very distinct smell. Very distinct smell. We haven't handled touch. You are quite correct. And we should. Now, bearing in mind, folks, that critically, when your players walk into the forest, we will not be reading out this gigantic page of descriptors to them. That's fatal. Absolutely fatal. We would read out one of these, and then as they explore it further, it's like, oh, you notice some of the trees, they've got kind of golden leaves that shimmer in this light that manages to puncture through the canopy that's 100 feet above you. You know, so we don't give them all at once. We really don't do that. But how else will they know how much effort we put in, says David Bridgman. How will they know how much effort we put in? They won't ever know. They will never, ever know. And let me tell you, next week, I think it's next week, on the channel, is a player video coming out. I don't know if is it next week? One? Yeah, where I basically have a real go at players who don't take notes, who don't engage with the game. And it's because of exactly this reason, David Bridgman. You know, I grew up, and here's a rant coming. I grew up as a GM whom was taught the bad habit that it is the GM's responsibility to do all of the work and the players show up and just have fun whilst playing the game. I have no idea where this came from. I don't know why that was ever something that was inculcated as a culture or as a society. It shouldn't be. Why? At no point in the rule books did it ever say the game master has to do all of the work and the players just need to rock up with a character. So I have a big rant in next week's video where it's like, to be perfectly honest with you, fuck that. It's just that's ridiculous. Why should one person do all the work and the rest just have fun? So anyway, so that's how they'll know. That's how they'll know. Okay. What seriously now? Seriously? What the video is about? Writing a story. What story? Which video? Which video? Adonis de los Angeles Vargas? I don't know. What are we talking about? Now, seriously, what the video is about? Writing a story. Which video? Which story? I don't know. I'm confused. Players shouldn't know the effort. They should know the feel and emotions evoked. Okay, so Lance Pickett, you are answering correctly. All right. Yes, we're putting in a huge amount of effort. There are a couple of things that are happening here. A great GM is someone who makes the world feel as if it has all of this information in it, and that you have planned and designed all of this information easily and beforehand or whenever. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The players don't care if you're making it up or if you did it 10 years ago. If it feels as if it's all prepped and ready, and you're not sitting there going, it's a forest and it's got trees in it that are tree-like, then you've done your job. So yes, the idea is you want the players not to realize you've done all the work. And in television and in film, we often say, well, if the people don't realize it was made, if it just feels like they're watching a real story, then we've done our job. We don't want them to realize and recognize the sound or the music or the lighting, etc., etc. So, anyway, that's a bunch of crap. Those people get paid money to do that. That's their job. No one pays a GM. Or anyway, like I said, it is unfair, and so there we are. Right, we're getting distracted. We're getting distracted because I've run out of coffee. I have run out of coffee. I think we've made some good save changes. Dear God, save the changes. And this is a draft. So we're doing really well here. We've filled in one block of a whole bunch of other blocks, which we really, really need to fill in. So I'm going to take a 4-minute break because I'm going to run down the stairs, put the kettle on, wait for the kettle to boil, and put it in. Well, you know how to make coffee. Anyway, so I will be back shortly. Get yourselves a drink because the second half is going to start, and we're gonna nail this wood to the door. Or I could have said it somewhere. It sounded better in my head. Okay, welcome back. Or if you've just been here, then there you go. Nevin Tomikiek, the name of this song, I don't remember the actual name of it, but it was written for me by an amazing composer called Darren Curtis, and he writes all of our stuff nowadays. Wonderful composer, and yeah, it's an interesting journey, that, as a matter of fact. I had thought about sharing in today's show that I'm getting to compose some music for another show that I'm putting together. And it's a journey. It's a very interesting journey. And it is also a world-building journey as well, which is an interesting one. Soundtracks and music is a bit of a passion of mine. I wish I could play. I can't play a single instrument. I can't read music either. But yeah, it's an interesting process. So if you want to see what that is, I can share it with you, because what Darren does is I send him a brief, a music brief. It's like, well, I want music that does X, Y, and Z. And then he composes some stuff, he writes some stuff, then he sends it through, they're called sketches, to me, and then I listen to them, and I make notes, and I send them back to him, and we kind of build from there. So everything that you hear, we've gone backwards and forwards, maybe 3 or 4 times before we get to a final space where we'd like to be. I would love to have spent more time with him working on these, just because music is so evocative and it's so wonderful. I think it's worth the money and the time and the investment. So there we are. Alrighty. Now, firstly, let me say that anybody who asks a question here in English, I don't care how bad it is, I am always super impressed that you have asked it in English. I really, really am, because having tried to learn multiple languages, it is a pain. It is impossible. And then writing in English, my goodness, I can't write in the bloody stuff. But then again, it's just crazy. So there we are. Michael Beale says, how do you make coffee that fast? I just got the water boiling. I drink instant coffee by preference. I can't stand drip or press or anything along those lines. So I drink instant coffee, and the kettle that they have it doesn't have an element in it. It's a plate. The whole bottom heats up. So it's remarkably quick, actually. That and as a professional coffee drinker, and I say that by quantity, not by quality, then it's a pretty straightforward process. So there we are. Okay. English in comparison to Polish is child's play. Yeah, Draco, it is. It is, from one sense, or in a sense of the word. I haven't spoken Polish, or even, I have heard lots of Polish. The area of London that I live in, there's a huge Polish community here, and a lot of the stores, all of the signage is in Polish. And yes, it's put it this way, I could read more words in Finnish than I could in Polish so far. But there we are. Why don't we speak Afrikaans, Carl Volmerans? Because my Afrikaans teacher banned me from speaking Afrikaans in perpetuity. Her blanket ban was forever. Forever. You know, when you graduate from high school and your teachers all going, oh, jolly good, well done. She went, please just don't ever speak Afrikaans in public or private ever again. Ever. And you know what? So there we are. Anyway. Cheating monster when stepping through the moss. Okay, yes, Darth Tater. Let's get back on track, back focus. Where we are. When stepping through the moss-carpeted floor, there is a significant absence of substance, as if the moth is ethereal. Ooh, I like it. I like it. This moss stuff is becoming the business. When the moss, when stepped on, makes a crackling sound like drying branches being snapped underfoot, and the moss oozes as the curious thing is that the moss has no substance to it. At least it doesn't feel as if it does. And so is sometimes called ghost moss. Oh, so cliched. There you are. So there we go. Let's see. Where are we? The problem with learning any language is in the thought process, not in the language. You know, Lance, it could be the thought process, but for me, the biggest trick is I speak in a very specific way. I use specific words and diction and all that kind of stuff. And it's finding the words that I want to say and the phrases that I want to use, and then having someone then interpret that. So as a classic example, I have two wonderful fans who are, yeah, Spirit Moss is better. Yeah, all of that's better. Soul Moss. Soul Moss? No, that sounds like someone's name. Spirit Moss. Oh, sorry. Ta-da. Spirit Moss. Yeah, I think Spirit Moss. It's the evil GM. Am I the evil GM? Why am I evil? Spirit Moss. Okay. Yeah, for me, so these guys are trying to translate the book Complete Guide to Epic Campaigns into French. And they sent me an email saying, well, what the hell does bite me mean? What does bite me mean? In French, it doesn't have a direct translation. So that is often a big trick. Right. Ghast moss. So Ghast moss, Tenwian, looks great on paper. Ghast, or if you're American, ghast moss. It's just incredibly difficult to say out aloud. I dare every one of you right now, say it with me. Ghast moss. It sounds like Christmas. Ghast moss. Anyway, spirit moss I think is easier to say because it's closed and it's self-contained. All gems are beyond good and evil. We just are. Well, you did a tutorial series on how to play all the alignments on YouTube, did you not? I have done many tutorials, Takirosh, so yes, most likely. Gas mask. It sounds like gas mask. Yeah, there we go. There we are. The mask could be called Titan's Thought, Titan's Dream, Titan's Nightmare. We don't have to fixate on this. Let's go and work on another paragraph somewhere else. Let's choose something. Choose a location. An allotment. It is a parking lot. No. Let's see. Do they have a farm, a fishery, a footpath, a fortress, a foundry? No forest. So we're going to leave that blank because we can. Okay. Now, what was the purpose or the intent of the building, and which of different was its original reason for being built? So, now, I mean, this is a great prompt here. Thylandor, Goss. Ghost Moss is just called Goss. So, yeah, I like that. Okay, so it's a great prompt from World Anvil, and we can pervert it to our own needs as well. What is the purpose of ropewood? What was its original purpose? It was built for the Titan, wasn't it? It's a graveyard for the Titan. We haven't really defined this frickin' Titan, and we kind of need to. The Titan's name is Hirus, and that's all that we have thus far. I wonder, well, does a forest have a purpose? So I mean, this is the question. The divine allotment tended by the micro-ents. Yes, it's pretty much it. Let us take a break from here, perhaps, because we need to answer some other questions first. And let us go and look at Heros the Titan and figure out what the hell this Titan is all about, right? Where was he now? Oh, I'm supposed to be smart and type in Heros person. Okay. So Heros, this is what we have. The Titan God. That's it. That's all that we have. That's all that we have. Oh, are people still making coffee? Or tea. That's cool. Jimmy James says, calling all warlocks. Is the Titan dead or just slumbering? Well, I don't know. What do you think? What is his purpose as the Titan god? Great questions. These are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful questions. So let's answer them. The Titan god Horus. Dead, alive, petrified? Is he a she? Non-gender? Horus, my pun collapses. What? I don't get it. I'm very slow today. I've actually had a good day. It started as a bad day. I had to clean the bathroom. I hate doing that. Anyway, an old power, almost a goddess, once walked the earth with earthly feet, benevolent or malevolent. I mean, these are good questions. A bag full of oranges. We are designing Horus, the Titan god, whom that's all we have. That's all we have. He, she, they are underneath the forest. Well, these are facts. This is for us as the game masters to know. What the players will know is something we can add later on. I would like it if it was put into a forced sleep. Okay, Sabah Ismail says put it in a forced sleep. So it is sleeping. It is sleeping. I mean, we can go nuts on this, and it could be that it is considered dead, but it will resurrect. Right? Dekrushka says is near death after having their heart ripped out by the god of war. Certainly could work. Certainly could work. Suggestion, maybe Horus's body is being searched for by his followers. Group of ancient heroes defeated the Titan. This world's Fenris. Yeah. The once and future Titan, yeah. Look, I mean, Titans, obviously from Greek mythology, the Titans were defeated by the gods because they created the gods and blah, 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 blah. I mean, and there's that whole long story, which is great. I mean, it's lovely. We can step away from that. Repost. Forest drains the Titan of energy, keeping it dormant with some doomsday prophecy of the wood's eventual destruction. That's a good idea. I didn't see that before. Maybe he's not dead, but dreams and his dreams form the reality of Ropewood. What if Ropewood is called Ropewood because the roots of the trees tie the Titan down? They are his ropes that keep him there. So the trees are an actual prison. I see Andrew Savin was on the same page. So, yeah. Why are we at Carling? What did Carl say that was nice? Charles say that I like the idea of him falling asleep. He got bored with the world. He's a Rip Van Winkle. It's the Titan's souls that move around in the trees. Yes. I love that. But the people on the cliffs worship this Titan, right? Yes, they do. They do worship the Titan. They might not know that the trees keep him there. And that's the irony of it, right? You cannot cut down trees in this forest because our Titan slumbers and he will awaken one day and save us. Yeah, the only way that the Titan is ever going to awaken and save us is by cutting down your sacred frickin' trees. I think that's a brilliant subversion of the idea. So, yes. Okay, cool. Let's commit this now to something. The ropewood trees tie the Titan down and act as a prison in which... okay, gender of this Titan. Let's choose one. Any gender, non-gender. I mean, it's a Titan, right? We can choose whatever we like, but it will help in terms of typing what particular pronoun we use. She, genderless, he, she, they. Oh my goodness. Roll a dice. Okay, well, I'm going to roll a dice using my easy roll. No, that's too small. My easy roller dice, which were given to me by the company, Easy Roller. So we have 3 states. Oh, no, we have 4 states. We have genderless, we have non-binary, and then we have he or she, right? Everyone happy? 1, 2, 3, 4. So genderless, non-binary, he or she. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. So I'm going to roll a d4. And where is it gone? Oh. Right, I'm back. Sorry, just had to get my easy roller tight dice rolling tray box thing. Sorry. I mean, but it's keying out, which is really weird because it's like you should be able to see my hair. Anyway, I'll stop that. I know it's annoying, but okay, D4. Here we go. Thank you, Tinwian, for writing that down. It is, you maybe be able to see that, a 2. A 2. Okay. So, that means we have a non-binary. Your show is brought to us by Easy Rider. Well, this is the thing. Easy Roller. Easy Roller, not Easy Rider. No. Easy Rider is a condom manufacturer. It's Easy Roller. Although, I mean, condoms are useful too. So, I mean, yes. So there we are. Only in 2020 does a non-binary Titan exist. Not really. I mean, the idea, Swagenborn, is that the god represents both sexes. And both are in the same being at the same time. It is neither male nor female. That is as old as the hills in terms of god status and godlike being. So I don't think it's. I do agree with you though. I will agree with you though that it is that we are considering it as a topic to discuss. I do agree. I think that's definitely topical. So okay. So in which they slumber. So they are sleeping, right? We said that they were sleeping. Look at Lawrence Carnarvon's idea. From when? Lawrence Carnarvon, post it again, please. Because if you ask me to scroll up, it's going to be forever. So the Titan changes gender pronouns every other. Look at avatars. You're talking about sex. I'd imagine it varies from tribe to tribe. Most primitive societies would settle on either a male or a female. Again, I'm not sure I'm going to agree with you just from a historical perspective, Swagenborn. But I mean, this is the wonderful thing, is that I absolutely agree. The tribes can certainly look at the god, at the Titan, from all different aspects. And without a doubt, there is a religious aspect which will pervade and sit on top of everything, so that the god might very well be non-binary. But the religion needs women to be seen as subservient to men, so then the god will become masculine. Or the book that details the history of the Titan will be written by a woman, and as a result. So anyway, there we go. Right. Where are we now? Wait, I can't click on the name because I'm in Restream. I'm not actually in the chat. So I will go looking for it. It's fine. Perhaps they have 2 souls, 1 male and 1 female. Okay, is that the one? There we are. Right, good. Okay. Ropewood trees tied the Titan down and act as a prison in which they slumber. The strange entombed figures that we can see within the trees are the Titan's memories as it dreams and... as it dreams, blah, 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 blah. Okay, right. So the Titan has both masculine and feminine souls within it in a universal duet to give it one voice. Okay, right. Every month the forest is higher than before and it'll return to normal. The cause of this is the Titan's breathing. Yes, and have you watched the YouTube videos? There's some amazing YouTube videos of the earth breathing. Google earth breathing YouTube. It's just gas, right? It's just gas. But there we go. Do you know the book Save the Cat? No, I don't know the book Save the Cat. I don't sadly watch a 24/17. I don't. Save the Cat. No, I don't know that book. I don't know the book. Wait, why does it sounds familiar though? Save the Cat. No. You'll have to remind me. You will have to remind me. So there we are. Anything else? It's got 2 souls. Okay, good, fine, right. Okay, what was this Titan? It's a Titan god. What was it the god of? So here is where we can start to get clever. And this is tricky because the players might never figure it out, but it will give you a little smile when you do it. So when we look at the setting, right, we've got the Gokota, who are all about their magic and their magocracy and that sort of thing. We have the Langskrag, who are all about flying and raiding and this sort of thing, and they believe that the Titan is the true god that will come back and restore and save them. Meanwhile, it's being held in this prison-like structure. Okay, good. What is this Titan supposed to be the god of? And I mean, we can go, as Tenwian pointed out there, air and fire, life, that sort of thing. I wonder, though, if we can't then look at it and say, well, what if this Titan was actually the Titan of... and there, a bag full of oranges got to before I did. The Titan of justice or of trickery, right? So either two, because it is subverting the idea. So, it's the god of justice. He's trapped in the trees. But who would put him to sleep? Anarchy or vengeance? What is the opposite of justice? And it's not injustice. Justice is where law is affected. So lawlessness, anarchy, I suppose. I don't know. What is the opposite of justice? Help me out. Save the Cat is a writing technique. Okay, I think I've heard about that. Save the Cat, and I was like, oh, that's a weird title for a... Okay, I thought it might have been about quantum mechanics because I've read a couple of those books, just not on that one. Save the Cat. Save the Cat. I shall write it down in my list of things and save the cat. And then I will look at that and go, what? So, Save the Cat, book on script writing. No, book writing. Book writing. See, I've read lots of books on script writing, but not on actual writing. How old is the Titan, and then who would imprison? Well, exactly. So this is the question that we have to ask. So justice is better since trickster god Titan shouldn't get caught. Well, maybe, but it's usually a bad person that is trapped, so why not turn it around? Yes, I agree, it's okay. So justice, absolutely fine. Could be the god of death. Yeah. Could be that they tired. Oh dear, the Titan god. I think we're going to put here the Titan god of, let's say, justice and chutney. The god of chutney. Yeah, we could have the god of chutney. I do like chutney. I won't deny that. Dual role of justice and chaos. Well, we do have this dual soul idea going on, which I really do like. So what if it was justice and mercy? Justice and mercy. God of Star Trek, Daniel Cope. No one will replace Gene as the god of Star Trek. No. Anyway, yeah, okay. I think let's go with justice and mercy. Justice and mercy. Apathy could have put. Well, wouldn't it be sympathy? Wouldn't it be sympathy? I don't know. Okay, we'll leave it for now. We can debate this. We can come back to this. Okay, so that's fine. All right. So they were trapped here by their nemesis, the Titan Titan of chaos and discord. Let's do that. Let's do that. Yeah, so blind and weighing the scales. I often find that such a ridiculous notion because we don't have a merciful judicial system. I haven't encountered a country that has one of those yet. They have, yeah. It's not really mercy anymore. I don't think. I don't think so. Anyway, so perhaps the god represents a duality. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. God of not being trapped in the forest. Well, that would be ironic considering that they're now trapped in the forest. Maybe its enemy doesn't have to be its polar opposite. Yes, okay, fine. I was just going for shorthand. The nemesis, well, trapped here by the Titan of let's see. So everyone's saying it shouldn't be their opposite. Okay, sure, I agree. So what about the Titan of chutney? No. The Titan of vengeance. Well, vengeance would actually probably be the opposite, I would actually imagine. Which could be quite interesting. But then that would be the opposite, so we don't want to do that. The non-binary god of not conforming to social norms, except conforming to the new social norms that happen to be the social norms for now, having non-binary. It's the age-old goth problem. I want to be a goth because I don't want to conform, so I'm going to dress like all other goths so that I'm not conforming. Benevolence, wrath, chutney and marmalade, trap for something that it did. I prefer that one. It was trapped here, because they refused to judge to judge the hero, and in doing so caused the end of the first worlds of existence. I don't know, folks. It's late. My brain is going off in somewhere. But that's vague and which hero? Yes, I know it spawns more questions, doesn't it? Refuse to judge. Let's do this. The hero in caps. The hero. Maybe there's a Titan known as the hero. And just refused to pass judgment because this god was in love, or I don't know. Anyway, they caused the end of the first worlds of existence. So there was previous worlds before this one. I mean, we can do that. Perhaps they are not a one-off. Maybe there are many Titans trapped around the world by a tyrant Titan. Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is. There are other Titans that exist, but their whereabouts are unknown. There we go. That's an easy one. That's an ultimate cheat. It's like, oh, they're there, but we don't know where they are. Trapped or lost to history. Okay, there we go. Maybe the hero did something not as heroic, and the Titan of Justice and Mercy showed the latter. Yeah, absolutely. We'll leave it open-ended like that. So this is the other thing that I often see happening, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but I also think that it can be a very bad thing. Is that when planning a world, or when designing stuff like this, we answer all the questions, or we try and answer all the questions, and we don't need to. So with this Titan, right? Are the players going to chop down the entire forest to free the Titan? It's unlikely. The players might ask some general questions about the Titan, and later on we might need the Titan for our big bad end finale where the Titan rises up and comes to save the world. But we don't need to answer these questions just yet. And by not answering them now, we leave them open for us to be able to answer later on. Now, I know it sounds like a cop-out, and I am not in any way, shape, or form saying, "Whoop, stop! No, we don't have to answer because I'm lazy." it quite literally is. We don't have to answer it because it's useful to keep it in our back pocket. That if a player character amazingly asks one of the ancient Langskrag priests, why is the Titan trapped in Ropewood Forest, or why is the Titan sleeping under Ropewood Forest, this priest might be able to say, this Titan refused to judge the first hero. And then the players go, well, who the hell's the first hero? And you go, the first hero was someone who caused the end of the first worlds of existence. And the players go, what? And then the old priest goes, but I don't know more than that. It's very ancient knowledge. You would have to travel to the far ends of the earth to find out all of that sort of malarkey. And then they go off and they start looking into that. And then you expand upon that, because otherwise you're going to end up, you will expand forever as you start answering these questions as we go. Searching the other bound Titans could be a common quest among the Cliff Vikings. Absolutely. I like that, though. I do like that. It could be not even the Cliff Vikings. This could be like a subtle background quest where the sage says, so you're interested in the Titan. Well, as a matter of fact, I have a colleague who believes he has found another Titan. We know of this one, Heros, who slumbers. But there might be another one in the mountains. If you would journey there, I would give you a letter to introduce you to the abbot there who is... And off we go. So there we are. We answer all the questions apart from the one that they ask. Well, Ben Nicholson, that is absolutely true. We try and answer the questions that we ask as creators, but it's very seldom the question that the actual players ask. So Jimmy James says, do we need to make a pantheon of the Titans? We certainly could, but only if we need to. Because remember, the Titans, this is a forest. One forest in a very large map. So if the players bite and they go, ooh, this Titan thing sounds pretty damn cool, what were the weapons of the Titan? Because players might look at it from a weaponized perspective. Can we go and get the weapons of the Titans? Yes, you can, but it's a perilous quest deep in the mountains of Angor. Where are the mountains of Angor? Far to the north. Right? And if they pick up on that, then you come back here and you're like, okay, so they had a weapon, right? Where is that? There's a section under here somewhere. I know I saw it. I think it's under personal. There's some famous weapons or vices. We can go mad and filling in all of this stuff. So yes. So Terry Pratchett's last hero, Death Tater points out, quite correct, could be our first hero. Absolutely. So there we are. Unless you build the entirety of the rabbit hole, just make sure you get back to the start at some point. Well, yeah, absolutely. Could you even wield a Titan's weapon? I mean, if it needs an entire forest to bury them. Well, Tenguin, absolutely. But imagine the metal or the substance that Titan weapon must have been forged from. Suit of armor made from that would be invulnerable. So find the Titan's weapon and you find immortality. It also happens to be far, far to the north in the mountains of Angor. Daniel Cope says, how is this played? Could you run Patreon group? Wait, what? Firstly, thank you very much for the donation, Daniel Cope. Really do appreciate that. How is this played? Could you run Patreon group once it's done? Maybe once it's done. So I do occasionally run Patreon groups. I ask for volunteers. Like currently, the Wednesday night game is a voluntary game that we certainly asked for and promoted patrons to join. So yes, that was only a one-on-one game. But yes, it's a very difficult time at the moment because there's lots of games floating around. And as my business partner pointed out, he's like, it's great you running all these games, but technically that does take a lot of time to run. And you go, yes, absolutely. So yes, absolutely. I mean, if you look at Uther's Dragons, which was the last year's campaign project, that's what we're currently running through on that one-on-one. So there's no reason why this couldn't sit in this space. And I think what's exciting is that the Circle of World Builders event, which I know I've been speaking about, and I'm sure you've all signed up for it, Circle of World Builders is this, but compressed into 2 days. And that stuff will be made available to everybody who can then use it and run your own games with, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. So there you are. Okay, we're talking the material. Could you find the smith tools to put it together? Absolutely. There is that ancient troll smith who lives north of the northern mountains of Angor who could possibly do it, I think. So again, folks, it really is about saying, okay, well, we've dropped these seeds in here. Look at these wonderful adventures that are bursting out. We're not going to touch them because we'll spend days working out the nuance of how to build this blade out of the Titan's weapon and to go and find the forge or the smith or the whatever that can do it. But there's no point in doing any of that until the players actually engage with it. So when I look at World Anvil, it's like there's so much stuff that we can fill in here. Doesn't mean that we have to. Just because it's there doesn't mean that we have to. So Patreon's play in the Tri system. Wink, wink, says Draco Vale. I have so many things coming up. I would love to. I really, really, really would love to, because it's fun. It really is fun. And where was I? I think I was actually talking about it in this next coming video. It is so much. It is so interesting to see how other people play. And even if you play with people who are terrible, it's still giving you perspective going, well, the other group I have is pretty damned awesome. Or the other group I have is terrible. We need to change. So I am going to help my people change by let's looking at this, or we look at that, or whatever the case might be. Okay, I think we're done for now on this world building. I must admit, we're nearly at the end of the 2 hours normally. And I think we made some good progress. Ropewood, I think, is now solid. The Titan underneath has enough for us to play with. So I would confidently say we could play a party going through that forest. We haven't looked at the types of creatures that would be in there. That could be a lot of fun. And I think there it would be great to have stuff from the Titan's memory. I mean, we could really, really, really focus this. And it's like these are beasts from the first world, that whole collection of worlds that existed before, and present it to the players. So we can really go crazy there. Again, if they go there, that's the trick. If they go there. So I think that's important. Or will be. We don't have to fill everything in World Anvil. Looks at his world, which is essentially a single city with half a novel in words. This is, for me, I was talking to Janet from World Anvil the other day, actually, because we were arguing over how you should world build and how you should create adventures. And it's so interesting to see her perspective, and then to look at the way that I do it and realize, and I mean, this is silly. One should have realized these long ago, but our approaches are all different, and we all work at a different pace and with different amounts of input. And some people like to have and need to have lots of planning, and others don't. And I think it's about finding where you fit and then aligning yourself accordingly. So like with this book that I'm busy working on, I'm writing it as a script. So it's a script first and foremost. So I keep saying, oh, I'm on page 50. But if I open it up, very, very briefly, if I open it up, yeah, I can show you this. I'm just checking that there's no bad language. It's not that bad. So this is how I write the book. So one of my friends, his name is Ryan, and one of the characters is based on him, because I need the shorthand so that I can get the book out before I have to actually think about the character creation. And his daughter, her name is Ryan Villain, because she will become Ryan's villain, if you like, to a degree. I mean, it's a friendly rival because she's his daughter. But this is how I have started to write my book. Very little actual prose. And I mean, it's Dark Elf Mansion Night, because that's how it would be written in a screenplay. When I actually convert it into a book, it's then, okay, that one sentence will now expand into paragraphs describing the scenery and the smells and the sights and the sounds and all that kind of stuff. What is in the script is action. So these are the actual actions of the character. Climbing stairs, running, hiding, sneaking. They're infiltrating this dark elf mansion. And so then I can say, oh, I'm on page 50, because in my space, in an hour, I write 10 pages. So when I have a writing goal, I write 10 pages and I'm done for the day. But other people write actual prose, in which case 10 pages is insane. So when you look at it that way, you go, okay, well, from a world building perspective and from a GMing perspective, you also have to decide, well, how much do you need before you can actually start playing? And I think that just depends on how agile your imagination is. So I don't know. There we go. And I think all of you guys have pretty damn good imaginations. I mean, what we did today was phenomenal. We could have had 20 different Titans and they would have been brilliant. So there we are. Okay. Should you pigeonhole players for a plot theme? Well, I think you should group players into different categories of player. And that, I know it's awful to put labels on people, but it really does help. It's like, okay, well, that player is the one who drives the plot. So if I need the plot to start moving, that's the player who's going to do it for me. If I want NPC interactions, that's the player who really enjoys NPC interactions. So I will give the NPC to that player. That player is an observer, and so I'm not going to, they're going to see stuff. I will throw snippets out to them, but they don't want to make decisions. They don't want to be the center of attention. So I will make sure that is the space there. So I think that certainly comes into it. When you're designing your plot, don't design your plot on one player character, because that character might die, that player might leave the group, and then your whole thing falls apart. So it's better to try and keep it open. Now, in the one-on-one game, obviously, the entire plot is designed around this one player, because there's only one player. So I only have that choice. And when that character dies, that's it. Game over. Next campaign, new characters and players and so on. Ranman Phoenix says, want to say thank you for these live chats. It's great to get the brains running, and collaborative writing is amazing within your community. Our community, the Great GM community, is absolutely super cool. They really are. Really, 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 really are. So yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Why not record an audiobook, as Amazon had called this week for more content? Well, I think they probably are looking for my brain has just dribbled onto the floor. They're looking for entertainment stuff. So I could record something like Dracula or Sherlock Holmes, stuff where the copyright no longer exists. I just don't have enough days in my weeks to actually do it. I used to do that when I was in university. There was a charity called Tape Aids for the Blind. This is how long ago it was. And you'd go into a studio and you'd read a book onto cassette tape, good old-fashioned cassette tape. And then that would be given out to old age homes for those who could not see or read any longer. And then they could listen to these books. So I used to do that many, 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 many years ago. And it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. But I mean, all of my podcasts, which you can get on my Patreon, some of them are discussions, but at the moment I am busy reading through A Complete Guide to Nautical Campaigns. So there you are. Draco Vale, you still have an hour yet. That's right. Draco is part of our server in Discord, where we are. It's one little channel within the Great GM server for writers who want to get some kind of motivation. So there you are. Yeah, let's get some writing going. Okay. Old tapes, I have a few still kicking around. Yeah, absolutely. Those good old-fashioned tapes and things. Anyway, let us call it an end for tonight. Thank you all for keeping me company and giving me this amazing insight into this Titan and this Ropewood. It's certainly very, very cool. Yeah, your questions have been great and your input has been even better. So anyway, until tomorrow night for live sessions with the GM, I wish you and yours the very happiest of evenings or afternoons or mornings or whatever time it happens to be. And until then, we shall say happy gaming.